Okay, ladies, hey, we're going to start our training networking during COVID. Now, if you're listening to this even after COVID, I want you to know that all of the same concepts apply. The problems that people were having before COVID were just magnified during COVID. So, everything that we're going to talk about will help you to expand your community, your friend circle, find a relationship, some ladies were saying, and really continue to expand that so that you can step out and create the environment that makes you feel full. And with that, I want to define what networking is before we go into training. Because all networking is connecting to another soul, like connecting to another human. And I think too often we put so much pressure, and we were talking with the ladies before this training has started about finding your tribe and how within that, as you grow and evolve, your tribe is also growing and evolving. And friendship and connection and networking is really just a vibrational, energetic experience that we need to be unattached to, completely surrender. And when things feel good, we do it. And when they don't, we don't. And really release expectation. So, with that, I want you to think about your first thought, which I want you to write down, is what does networking mean to me? What does friendship mean to me? Because your definition of friendship, of networking, of mentors, of mentees is not the same as everybody else's. So when you're networking, you want to find people that have a similar definition, right? When I was first networking, when all my friends had babies, I was very clear of the type of circle that I wanted to create around myself. And I remember going out to coffee with a girl and her telling me what kind of friend she was looking for. And I knew right away that wasn't me. So respectfully, I could say to her, you seem awesome, but I also don't want to set you up, for disappointment, because I love everything that you're saying sounds great, but I just want you to know I'm not that type of friend. And that's okay. There's something super liberating about it, because then she doesn't put expectations on me. I don't have expectations on her and how she should and shouldn't act, so that we can truly be free, live in our own truth, and together we make a better partnership and or connection together. So that's the first question. I want you to really know what this means to you. The second question I want you to ask yourself is, who do you want to meet? I need you to be very intentional of the types of people you want to meet. I was actually on a panel a couple of years ago, and one of my panelists, this was his suggestion, so I'm passing that on. He always suggests having three types of people that you're networking for. You have people that are kind of at your stage of life. Those are mostly your friendships, those that continue to inspire you and you work from and with. Then you have people that are just ahead of you, which are usually your mentors. They can also be friends as well. And then you have people that are just behind you that you can mentor. So you have your mentees. So I want you to write lists, and I always give lots of homework on these workshops, but I want you to write a list of, like, what do my friends look like? What do I want those people to look like? What qualities, what interests do I want them to have? And then you can kind of figure out what are the most important qualities for you. Same within mentors and same within mentees. You don't have to have them all. Different people, we can all be different. But I know we were talking with the ladies before this training started, and one of them had said growth minded. That's actually one of my priorities, especially with my friend circle and when I'm part of masterminds. I just want to be surrounded by growth minded people. That's like my priority. But the other things, I don't care. I don't care if you have a kid. I don't care if you don't travel. I just want you to be growth minded. I want you to be authentic. I want you to be honest. I want us to have a very real conversation where I can call you out and you can call me out, and it's okay. And for them to actually be comfortable communicating with me, right? So it's just really understanding what that might look like to you. To some of the women who are on live, do you want to share out loud what some of those qualities are that you might be looking for? And also within that, so I guess there's 4 now, because we're also talking about romantic. So you have like friends, mentor, mentee, and even romantic you can network for. Okay.
I can add one. I think people who are at least somewhat appreciative or aware of mental health and why that's important, not necessarily their number one, area of focus, but just include it in their mindset. And people who may not be judgmental about appearances, that might not be a priority for them. So you can sort of be more comfortable.
Great. So I love that you said that. So am I correct when you say non-judgmental, that means open?
Yeah.
Is that someone who's like
kind,
open and
yeah.
accepting and kind? Great. Okay. I love that you said this. And this is why I love when people come on live when we're doing these trainings, because then I can continue to help. So when you write your list, I want you to be very aware of if you're doing them in the negative or the positive. So if you say, I don't want someone judgmental, what's the opposite? You can write that as your first draft, but I want us to go back and be like, okay, what does that actually mean? Because our mind, from a energetic perspective, does not know the difference between the positive and negative. So the should and should not, the have and have not. So what we focus on expands. I don't want to focus on the judgment. I want to focus on the openness, the acceptance, the kindness, and have that in your mind, as opposed to what we don't want. So focus on what you do want in your list. Thank you for contributing that to the training here. Anybody else want to add some of the qualities that they're looking to network with within any one of those lists?
I can add one.
Cool.
So I'll add to the relationship, which would be very similar, I guess, to friendship, because I would like friendship to be within my relationship. And for me, it would be growth mindset for sure. I want somebody that would be like committed to growing as an individual as well as growing in the partnership, because I identify them as two separate things, but one needs to be an individual and authentic with that first in order to be able to contribute to the relationship in an authentic way. So I'd want somebody that is committed to learning and growing as an individual, but also committing some of that energy to the partnership, as opposed to wanting to create a relationship around how society dictates it should and should not be. So I'd want somebody that's a little bit more deeper and ready to explore, or have the curiosity and the courage to maybe explore some of the more uncomfortable conversations around what it takes to have a successful relationship for the two people involved in the relationship.
Beautiful. When we talk about relationships, also add, and actually this goes for all of the lists, add how you want to feel in these relationships. How do you want to feel with your friends? How do you want to feel in your relationship? Romantic, mentor, mentee, empowered, inspired, sexy, whatever. Sexy is obviously for romance. Imagine. Well, I mean, when you're with your girlfriends, maybe you do want to feel sexy. Like you want to feel like they build you up and they make you feel good and confident, right? But within that, I also want us to, this is just a side note and something to think about, because I know you watch so many TED Talks or workshops and everyone always says, write your list and manifest this list. And while I think this is great, you'll see in our next 2 steps, this is helping you to raise your energy and vibration to that level. So often, and I learned this the hard way, myself included, we do not allow for the evolution of growth. We might meet someone who may not tick off some of the things on our list. And if they don't take off those things on our list, we write them off right away and we're like, we're not for you. But if you actually embody everything on these lists, you become the kind, accepting, loving human. So this goes back, if you saw my Instagram post this week, my purpose, and this is something I ask myself all the time, what is my purpose? What is my purpose? I believe my purpose is to feel good and to connect with the truth of who I am and embody everything I want others to feel. I want people to feel joy and love and and peace. If I'm not embodying that, I can't attract it, and I can't teach it, and I can't share it. So this beautifully brings us into our second step. So there's essentially 3 stages of networking. The first, I almost gave you guys the finger. The first is, what do you want? What do you want? Okay, who do you want to meet? What qualities do they have? Number 2, I want you to go back to all 4 of those lists. 5, I don't care how many lists you make. I just want you to be clear on who you want to meet. I want you to go back to all of those lists and really, really honestly ask yourself, am I being these things? Am I showing up as these things? And am I giving these things to me? So I'm going to give you an example. In relationships and friendships, I see both of these qualities. People often say, I want adventure, I want excitement. And I go, okay, great. How are you bringing excitement and adventure into your life right now? And they're like, well, I can't. Like, I'd really love to go surfing, or I'd love to go biking or hiking, but I'm not going to do it alone. Why not? Do not stop your life because you don't have people to do it with. You are responsible for creating your own happiness. Nobody else is responsible for doing this. So I see so often in running a community, people always look for qualities that they want, and they're not giving it to themselves, and it's like a mirror. So for example, I asked in the community, this was a while ago, months ago, I said, what does friendship mean to you? What are you looking for in a friend? And so many people said loyalty. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. What does loyalty mean to you? Oh, well, someone who's going to be there for me when I'm down, who'll pick up my call, make me feel better when I'm down. Said, you don't need loyalty. You need to learn to soothe yourself. And you need to learn to honor yourself and be loyal to yourself and be there for yourself. So in this question and in this second part of networking, I want to be really real, and I want you to honor your piece of this puzzle. Because so many people say, oh, I'm having trouble with friends, or I always attract the same people. You're the common denominator. And it's super real, but you have to be very honest and look at this list. And I'm telling you, all of these things that I teach in our workshops, I mean, it's an ongoing journey for myself, my clients. These are things I do all the time. I'm always looking, okay, who do I want to attract? What do I want my life to look like? And am I being that? How do I be more of that now? How do I engage in self-development? How do I raise my vibration so that I'm attracting these people? And the funny thing is, here's where it becomes a catch-22. Once you become it, you don't need it. And that's when you get it. So if you're looking for love and you're thinking, oh, I'd love to go to a movie, I'd love to go on a date, take yourself out on a date. I take myself out on me dates all the time. That's how I found my truth and my peace and my happiness. I'm in a relationship, I still take myself out on dates. These are important things that make you you and connect you to you. The most important relationship you're ever going to have is the relationship between you and you. And when we talk about networking, we get confused and lost because we think all of these people are going to make you happy, and they won't. So I'm just busting down this door for you right now. And I love giving tips. I love networking. I've built all of my businesses on networking. And it's such an important skill. But the most important skill is you working on you. And then networking becomes easy, because then you can show up. Then you can be authentic. Then you can meet all the people you want. And then life becomes this adventure and this magical journey where you're meeting people all the time, and you just think, wow, everyone is so great, everyone is so nice to me, right? It's so beautiful. So in the second step, I want you to actually write out and go back to all those lists, and I want you to ask yourself, how can I give myself that? How can I give myself this? Am I being this? And how can I continue to grow and evolve to become like the people I want to meet, including your mentors? If you feel like you're like your friend circle, then go to your mentors. How does that feel for you ladies that are on live right now? Does that resonate with you? Any comments about that before we move on to the third stage of networking? Oh, 1 second. I muted you. You'll just have to unmute yourself.
Thanks. I just had a quick question. I have done some of the like Abraham Hicks work on law of attraction. One thing that I struggle with when you mentioned how do you want to feel on my list is belonging and just being included in like events. And I just feel like it's like always been a barrier for me. And I think it's like a blind spot. So just curious what you might think about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Can you give me an example of when you don't feel included? Is it when you go to an event, you feel like you're not welcomed, or tell me a little bit more about that?
I somehow have all of these one-on-one connections with people, but I'm not like included when there's, you know, the you know, the just like the fun events that happen, you know, in downtown Toronto. Everyone, there's like all these groups, and I'm just not included. And I know that sounds really sad, but
No, it's
I've
fine.
just been focused on my career. And like I said, change, like my friendships change because I am focusing on my own personal growth. So I just somehow don't feel that belonging, which I really, really want. So I'm
Is it
not
that
invited to things,
people, yeah,
basically.
okay,
Yeah.
that's the key. Okay, so you're not invited.
Hmm.
Are you creating events and inviting other people?
It's a good question. I tried once last summer.
Yeah. So that's you not being invited. You need to start the inviting
Okay. Okay.
with other people and with yourself.
Okay.
That's where it sounds as though, and I know this is totally not intentional because I've heard this a lot, is then we're looking for other people to plan our social circle, and then we're thinking, well, why aren't I invited to everything? Look at all the fun things they're doing.
Hmm.
You got to start making your own fun,
Got it.
and then you don't
Okay.
care if they invite you because your fun is way better because you're
Hmm.
choosing who you're around.
Okay.
So start planning, what do I want to do? Write a list of all the fun things you want to do.
Okay.
And this brings us perfectly into our third section. Write a list of all the things that you enjoy, all the things you want to do, and go do them. And if you want to bring someone, bring someone.
Hmm.
So we're going to go into the third section, which is you got to get out there and do something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over a bunch of different elements. So we're going to go over warm and cold leads. We're going to go over social media, referrals, apps, events, and your existing life. So we're going to talk about first your existing life. And this kind of goes to the topic and the question that we just had. And actually what we were talking about with some ladies before we started the training. If you coming out of this second portion, if you're showing up as the vibrant, full of light person that I know you are, you will meet people everywhere you go. So think about when you're out and about, and this is why I wanted to talk about this so much during COVID. Now things are starting to lift. There may be a second wave. So I'm going to address both. And if you feel like I'm not addressing one or isolation enough, we'll dive a little bit deeper. Right now, you can still go out with a mask. People know if you're smiling in a mask. I tried it. I literally looked at my friend. I'm like, this is so weird because people can't tell if I'm smiling. Can people tell if I'm smiling? They know in your eyes that you're smiling, I promise you. So when you're out, smile at people, start talking to people. If you're in the elevator, start talking to people. If you're at a coffee shop, start talking to people. This includes men. I know people want a relationship. You need to start talking. You need to put yourself out there. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but the funny thing about being uncomfortable is once you do it a million times, it's not uncomfortable anymore. This is where you have to get very comfortable with rejection and also reading body language. You're gonna talk to some people and you're like, oh, they're totally not into this. But then you talk to other people and you think, oh, wow, they're really into it. The key here is not taking it personal when they're not into it. It's not about you. They don't even know you. And that's where I could talk about this forever. I could literally talk about this for an entire day. But this is where you can go into your head and you start thinking, oh, is it because they think I'm ugly? Is it because they don't like what I'm wearing? Is it because they don't like what I look like or my energy or whatever? Stop the stories. Stop the journey that you go down in your head that is just not true. So put yourself out there when you're in normal life. And to our question that just happened, start creating a life for yourself. Write a list of all the things you enjoy and go for it. This also goes back to our first step when we looked at who do you want to meet. I want you to get very clear, go back to those lists, and I want you to ask yourself, where are all of these people in those lists? Where are they currently hanging out? Where are successful people your age hanging out? Where can you find a mentee? Where can you find a mentor? Where can you find a man? I literally, when I did this, when I was, years ago, when I was single, I think, well, where are these men hanging out? Well, they're probably maybe they're at and I know this doesn't apply for COVID, so forgive my example, but they might be at a sports bar watching a big sports game. They may be at a volleyball league or a soccer league, right? Like, where are these people hanging out? And it's even better, obviously, if you enjoy that, if you enjoy hiking or if you enjoy doing something. So get very clear on where do these people hang out. One thing that I also really love is I work from hotel lobbies instead of coffee shops, because when I look at my list of who do I want to meet, well, they're probably at a 5-star hotel, traveling the world, and have awesome stories. So I want to be in a hotel lobby so I can meet all these people. Put yourself where these people are. We're going to go into some more virtual stuff with apps and referrals and all of that, but still be thinking, the people you want to meet are still doing something right now during COVID. What are they doing? Where are they? Make sense? Okay. Here's also where I get a pushback from people that say I'm an introvert. I can't do that. Okay. This is going to be a little controversial, my statement that I'm going to make right now. I don't believe in introversion and extroversion in a sense. So I do believe that people need to recharge either around people or not around people. That's the technical definition of introversion, extroversion, is how you recharge and regenerate your energy. I'm an introvert. I need to be alone a lot. It does not, shy and introvert is not the same thing. So many people will identify by labels that are not true. So if you're watching this and you think, heck, I'm an introvert, I can't do this, I need you to ask yourself, kind of how we started this, what is an introvert to you? Are you making excuses for being shy? Are you making excuses for being insecure? Are you making excuses for your fears and not putting yourself out there? Because I do not want you to live by your fears and insecurities, labeling them as insecurity, labeling them as introvert, because you're worth more than that. And I can't take it when people say that, because it's a lie. So don't lie to yourself. Okay? Anybody here resonating with being an introvert and being too shy to network? Now no one's going to raise their hand because of what I just said. Any comments about that? Because I know that it can be a soft spot for people.
I definitely relate to you in the fact that I'm very much an introvert, but I know the difference. Like, I am introverted when I need to recharge. However, I'm very good with people and I'm not shy in the slightest. So
yeah. See, we got another. So I just want you to really, really think about, what do I identify with? And I want to add one more thing before we move on to the next stage. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you do. All that I care about is you finding the truth of who you are and living that truth to its fullest expression. So if you can genuinely say, you know what, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, but then you want to network and then you want to be meeting more people. Do you see the disconnect? But if you were to say like, you know what, I love the way I am. This is my highest self. This is my best self. That's all I ask you. If you're watching this and you think like, I'm an introvert, I can't do it, are you living your best life? What does the ideal version of you do? How does she act? How does she show up? I would bet she is this radiant, loving being who loves to give love and joy to other people and who doesn't hide behind this shadow and mask that you've created. As babies love being looked at. You look at them and they just start giggling. And then as people, we start building all these walls and insecurities, and I just want us to start taking those down. Because I want you to always be looking back to, okay, what labels now am I attaching to myself? And what does my highest self do? And how does she perform in this scenario? Networking is huge because it will bring up a lot in you. And I get it. I get that it's hard. So if it's hard for you, make small goals. You know, some days I really don't feel like talking to people and I have to go to an event anyways. And I'll just say to myself, okay, that's fine. Just talk to one person. Make a connection with one person. And that goes back to, what is your definition of networking? It's just making a connection with a soul. So let me just make a connection with a soul. Okay? Let's go on to, I'm going to add one thing actually to your existing life. So if you're out, you're smiling, you're talking to people, the only difference here to officially networking, either for relationships, for work, I know a lot of people will be watching this to build community, like some of you had said, find clients. The only difference is actually the asking them for their number, asking them for their Instagram, creating that scenario so that you can see them again. I've done this with friends. I've met amazing women. I've also done this with mentors. I've just met amazing people. And if you don't feel comfortable, now you're lucky because you can just do, Instagram. Do you have Instagram? I'd love to follow you. Let's stay connected. Or I really love this chat. You have great energy. I'd love to see you again, or I'd love to follow, or I'd love to support you. Instagram is super easy if you don't feel comfortable asking for a phone number. And then that way you can continue to nurture that relationship virtually if you meet them in person. Okay, moving on to the next is referrals. So I was telling the women a little bit before that I have some people that are now with their romantic partners because of a referral. I had someone ask me, hey, you run a women's community. I want to meet a woman. Introduce me. Now, here are some tips for referrals. Referrals work for building community, clients, relationships, and friends. When you ask someone, I need you to be very specific with them. So I did this in business, but I'll give you the fun version. When I was asked, hey, I need you to set me up with a woman. They were very specific. They had a list of, hey, here's what I'm looking for in someone. It's the same when you're looking for a client. Hey, do you know anyone who meets this criteria? Do you know anyone who's looking for this? And you need to be specific, because if that person were to just ask me, hey, do you know a woman? Do you know a woman who's single? Well, yeah, I know hundreds of women that are single. But once he said, hey, do you know a woman that's single, that's also this height, who has this, demeanor to her, maybe this job, it doesn't matter. The dating example is not important here, because I know some people might be triggered and think, how dare he say, height and profession and all that, whatever, it doesn't matter. Same thing goes for client. Do you know a woman between the ages of 25 to 40 who may be looking to launch a business and who needs support in building community or making more money? Whatever it is, you have to be specific in your ask. Okay, think about the opposite. If you're not sure if you're specific enough, just say, okay, how would I answer this if somebody asked me this question? Do you have any friends that, that are entrepreneurs? Might not be specific enough. Yeah, I know a bunch. What about it? Do you know any friends that are entrepreneurs who, are super driven, who have big communities, who might want to be looking for collaborations, right? Then they start they start narrowing it down in their head. So just be very specific with referral. Referrals work very well. Use the network that you already have. Even though you're on this webinar, and I so am grateful that you're taking this time for you, you already have a network. So nurture that network already. So I want you to ask yourself, the next part within, getting yourself out there is, are you nurturing your current network? So even if you're not asking them for a referral, take 5 people, 10 people, 20 people, and reconnect with people in your network already. You've met a lot of people to date. So even if you don't do any of these things about your existing life referrals, just go into your own network and reach out. Hey, what are you up to? Hey, what are you doing? Tell me a little bit more about what's going on in your life. Ask them questions. You don't need to just go into a sales pitch. Just like, hey, what's going on? I saw your picture come up, or I wanted to get to know you better, whatever. Okay, so that's number 3. Then we go into social media, which is the fun part. 1 second, I'm just writing a note. Existing network. Okay, we're going into social media. So let's go Facebook. Okay, so you have your Facebook friends. This, you can either do your new or old. Your old Facebook friends are kind of what I just said. Reconnect with people that you knew in your past. New Facebook friends. You know how on Facebook, and they do this on Instagram also, they have a list of, you might know these people. Friend them. I friend them all the time, and then I follow up with a message so it's not completely random. And I literally just say to them, I don't just befriend anyone. I friend people that have a great picture, that have a good vibe, and I like their look. They look like, I always look at their smile in their eyes. If they have just like a little sparkle in their eye and they have a beautiful smile, I friend them and I send them a picture that says exactly that. Like, hey, you came up as someone I might know, or I should know, and I just really loved your smile, and you just have a really good energy, and I thought I wanted to get to know you. Or I'm always looking to collaborate with other, or I'm always looking to meet other women, and I just love the energy in your picture. But just give love in that message, and it doesn't have to be salesy. I've met people through Facebook just by doing that have either become collabs, clients, and or friends. It's a really fun tool. The next part of Facebook is Facebook groups. You can meet a lot of people in Facebook groups. So I suggest the best part in Facebook groups is to start discussions. If you're in other Facebook groups, so what I would do is create a list of Facebook groups going back to, where are my people? So find out where your people are. If your people are in sporting groups in a specific city, or music groups in a specific city or country, go into those Facebook groups. Start conversation, start discussions. Hey, who here likes this? Hey, who here, you want to ask questions that pull out the people you're looking to meet. Hey, who else here is an entrepreneur and looking to scale their business? I want to meet other like-minded women. Keep going. Just ask questions that will bring up people in the comments of people you want to meet. Now, here's a very important piece. You need to actually follow up. Like, do you notice how now, as we get into Facebook and social and even referrals, networking, if you're serious about it, and it can actually quadruple your business, it takes time. Every single one of these people that comment on your Facebook discussion, you need to DM. Hey, thanks so much for commenting. Tell me more about you. Tell me what you're up to. Tell me about your business. Tell me what you love. I'm always looking to connect, and have a real authentic message, but you have to message them. So slide into the DMs every single person that posts on your discussion. And so I always give a scale, especially when I'm talking to my clients. I give a lot of information when I teach. I don't care what you do, just do something. I give you all of this because I want to honor your pace. You might be someone who posts a discussion once a month, or you might be someone who posts a discussion every single day because you need money so bad and you need a client so bad that you're going to do whatever it takes to meet and expand your community and your network. So here's where you can just take your intensity and add whatever you want to it. I know you might be thinking, okay, well, if I'm just sending them a picture to network, how do I turn that into a client, or how do I turn that into a call to action? I'm going to get there in a second. Okay, we're going to go to Instagram. Same thing. Follow people, like their stuff, comment on their stuff so they start to see people coming up. Send them a DM. Share love, give them love. Do you notice that the first interaction is always giving? How can I give either good vibes, good energy, give them a compliment, offer, see how you can help them, give value. Then we go into LinkedIn, same thing. LinkedIn, search people. Where are your people hanging? If from a professional standpoint, a lot of them are on LinkedIn. The funny thing is a lot of them are also on Instagram and they don't have any followers, because you know how many VPs and CEOs have no followers on Instagram because everyone's following the company and or they're trying to get them on LinkedIn. You can still have professional interactions on Instagram, more now so than ever. So find them on LinkedIn and Instagram. Now, here's also something to consider. A lot of people are using voice notes or video notes. Now, I think some people use them too often, but I want you to really, as long as you're sending good vibes and it's just a casual like video message or voice note, do it. They can hear your voice. They can see your beautiful shining face. Don't be scared to send a video or voice note from an authentic place. Now, I want to dive a little bit deeper here. So LinkedIn, we can do search, send a request, and send a message. Video, voice, text. Now, I want to give some quick tips on what kind of messages you should be sending. So I already said give compliments because you're nurturing, you want to network. So give compliments. Ask them things you want to know. So you want to know, who are they? What are their current goals? And how can you help them? Those are your first conversations. You know how many DMs I get? Okay, honestly, I'm going to go into my DMs on my Instagram live right here, and I'm going to read you some of the random messages I'm getting from people. They are bad. Okay. One was good, actually. I took a picture. It was perfect. Okay, one just says, hi, how are you? I have a proposal for you. Very bad. The next one says, hey, I'm looking. So actually, this one just says, hi, I'm a virtual assistant. Here are the services I offer. Let me know if you're interested. Super bad, right? Okay, I'm going to tell you how to switch these. I got another one the other day being like, hey, I help coaches sell out and make 6 figures. She didn't know anything about me. I'm already sold out, already making 6 figures. She completely lost me, right? So you want to ask questions. The best message I got says, hey, my name's Russell. I run like an agency. I love your content, right? Giving value, love your content, love your vibe. I wanted to ask you a quick question. Are you looking to grow? Obviously, this is one of those like grow your account, but are you looking for more followers and more engagement on your Instagram? That's a good message. He said, hey, I'm so-and-so. You don't even need to say I'm so-and-so, because if you're messaging from your personal, it'll say your name. But like, hey, I love your vibe so much. Are you looking to connect with other entrepreneurs? Like, I know I am, right? Make your messages short, filled with love, and ask a question. Those are the simplest things. Don't feel like you need to do it really quickly. Networking is about building connection and making it real over time. I want you guys to unmute yourself. Tell me some of the challenges you have in messages, and or let me know if this clarifies what your messages should look like, because I want to know here if I should be giving any more examples or templates as to how to message people on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn.
I have a few questions. I don't know if they're things that you would get to later, though, or if I should ask now.
Go for it.
So one of them is, so you mentioned how you have to like DM and follow up with people. How would you like continue to keep that going like down the line? Because it's not like just do it once and then
Awesome. No. Okay.
yeah.
So it depends on what your conversation has been.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because from a business standpoint, if you're already talking about business, you've already made an offer and you're selling in DMs, that's a little bit different than just networking. Selling in DMs, you want to get to the conversation. They, number one, get into your DMs differently than the strategies I'm talking about right now. I can maybe do a training just on selling in DMs.
Okay.
But if you're selling in DMs, you're only talking about their goals and their challenges, and you're following up every 24 hours. You do not let 24 hours pass without a response. If you don't get a response, you ask them like, hey, are you still interested? Hey, everything okay? Hey, does that make sense? Hey, didn't hear from you. Okay. I know it sounds pushy when we're talking, but practice it with friends and it isn't. It seems supernatural because 24 hours is long enough in a sales conversation. In a networking conversation, you can follow up. Depends how many people you are connecting with. What I would do is actually build out a networking strategy. So what I would do is once a week, I would set aside a few hours to network. And then I would send out, all of my messages, all of my reach outs at the same time. So for productivity's sake, you want to bulk all like activities together. And then what I would do is, sorry, I was just looking at the time, and time always flies. And then what I would do is make sure that you are, now I forgot my train of thought because I looked at the time and was like, oh crap, it's already the end. What was I saying? What was the last thing I said?
The saying was doing like items together.
Like items together, yes. So I would do all my reach out at the same time, and then I would do all of my follow up at the same time. You could do it once a week if it's just for networking, because it's a little bit more casual. Does that make sense, Nicole?
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, cool. And then did you have another question?
Yeah, so what if like someone tries networking with you and you're not like situation? Yeah, so like in certain situations, for example, like romantic, you can kind of like be direct with that, or like in a selling situation, you can kind of like communicate you're not a good fit. But in like, I don't know, if it's like in another kind of situation, how would you?
Yeah, so I usually do one of two things. Number one, you can delay the conversation, put it in their court and get them to follow up with you. Hey, I'm super busy right now. Sorry, like I'm traveling, I'm doing this. Would you mind following up with me in 2 or 3 weeks, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks? Like give them a specific follow-up time. Usually they forget and they never follow up with you again.
Okay.
The second thing to do is either you can also just not respond. It depends if you're already into the interaction or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it's easy just to not respond if you don't like their message. Like those ones that I just read out loud to you that were so bad, like I won't even respond to them.
Yeah.
But I didn't respond, so I haven't had an interaction. But normally if I'm not really feeling it, or like even if someone's asking you for things like, hey, can you share this? Can you promote this? I'm like, yeah, follow up with me in 3 weeks. It'll be a better time. They always forget.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions before we move on just to the last bit of this networking session? Because I want to be cognizant of your time. No questions? Okay, cool. Okay, so we're moving into apps now. There are apps to meet people. You can also, so I know it's obvious for dating, there's apps that you can meet people, but there is also apps for friends. So Bumble has a friend version. Hey, Vina also exists. Now there's also networking apps. So research some networking apps and go from there. The same applies. So I've used networking apps to build my community. The best way that I've found to use networking apps to build community specifically is to give them a call to action. So you'll notice that everything is very action oriented. So when we were in person, you had to bring them to the next stage, right? When you're messaging people, you want to bring them to the next stage. You want to actually engage in conversation. What are some of their goals? You want to get them to start talking about things that will bring you to the purpose of your interaction, whether it's friends, romantic, business, whatever. Apps is the same thing. So when I was networking on apps, I had planned webinars and I had planned live events to invite them to. So I was like, hey, I'm looking to build a community of amazing, growth-minded women. Is this something you're interested in? So do you notice that my message is short and I ask a question? Then they would be like, yeah, I totally am. I'd say, great, that's so awesome. I'm actually hosting an event next week. Would this be something that you would want to attend? Again, short, ask a question. And they'd say, yeah, depends. What are the details? I said, great, here are the details. Will you be joining? Question, short. And they were like, yeah, I think I'll get there. I said, great, can't wait to see you. Did you register? Something like that. Sending you so much love. Can't wait to meet you in person. Do you see how the interaction, all in all, from start to finish, is pretty short? The messages are very short, and I ask a question in every single one until we get to the call to action of them attending the webinar or attending the event. This still can work during COVID. All of these things can work during COVID. There are online events that you can message people. There are also, we went to a cooking class last night. There's social distancing events are starting to happen. So you can still be networking everywhere you go. I prefer networking in real life over networking events because in real life, you see who they are. In networking events, everyone is super fake and just handing out business cards. This is the best time to network. People haven't seen people in months. If you are a happy, shining, bright light in this world, they're like, oh, this is fun. I haven't had an interaction in months. This is great. Like literally, I can't even tell you, we go for a walk every day. I'm in Seattle with a friend. And we always say, man, everyone is so nice. We're just smiling, waving, like, hey, how are you? Such a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So what are you bringing to the table and how are you showing up? So that's how I use, real life. And then that's how I use apps. The last thing is events. We've kind of talked about it sporadically throughout. Online and in-person events. Go to events that you enjoy. Do stuff that you enjoy. Go to places where these people are, going back to our first activity, and you make it worth it. Set a goal for yourself. Oh, I just need to make one connection. But again, make sure you're giving a call to action. A number, an Instagram, something, but also make sure you follow up. If you're handing out business cards, it is not enough to be like, oh my gosh, great, I loved meeting you. Here's my card. Can't wait to hear from you. No, I get why you're doing that. You don't even need to give your card. Just take theirs because you'll follow up with them, right? So take their card, you follow up, send them a message the next day. Hey, it was so fabulous meeting you yesterday. What's the next step? I'd love to get on a phone call. I'd love for you to, to find out more about you, whatever it is. Does it make sense? A couple other key things depending on who you're networking with. And this is where if you have other questions, I'm happy to chat with you one-on-one. I do want to start wrapping up just because of time, but we'll get a couple questions in. I want you to be aware if you're reaching out to people who have big followings, who are, maybe celebrities or whatever, just be cognizant of their time. Sometimes people, they'll send a message, hey, love what you do. Can we get on a call? Nope. They didn't build enough rapport in order for me to sacrifice time for them. What they could have said is, hey, I love your stuff. How can I help you? What are some of your goals right now? That would open me right up. Oh, that's so nice. Thank you. Offer value and offer to do something for them. Can I do this thing for you for free? One of my friends who's built an amazing stretch therapy business, she gave free stretches to celebrities and people. And that's how she built her business so quickly. Hey, what can I give you? And then they start to reciprocate. So I know you might be sitting there thinking, I have nothing to give. You do. You can share with even if it's, hey, do you have anything coming up? I'd love to share it with my friends. It's enough. Share it with 5 people. Share it on your Instagram. People notice. What can you do? You might want to write out a list of what value can I give people and what can I offer to do for people. The more you give, if you read the book, I talk about this book all the time, The Go-Giver. How can you give, and things will continue to come back. I also did a little post this week on money and abundance mindset. Same thing. We need to learn how to receive, but we need to learn to give in order to receive. So I want to finish this call with the 3 biggest mistakes that people make during networking. One is they're totally inauthentic and they're only thinking of what the other person will give to them, and they're only thinking of the end goal. We've talked about that and how to kind of overcome that. Just give and be loving and just give light and love to every single person that you meet. Number 2 is they're not consistent. Similar to the question that we were asked, they'll make one reach out and then that's it. They'll network here, there, and then they say it's not working. This is where I cannot highlight enough. If you are serious about networking, and you may not be, and that's cool. Maybe you just want to meet one friend. That's okay. Then know your goals and know your strategy. But if you're using networking to build community, to get clients, to scale, to build an empire, girl, I'm telling you, it's going to take more effort than you think. When I got 34 people for my online summit, I emailed almost 300 people to see who could do an interview for me. A lot of them said yes, and maybe they weren't available and it didn't work, but you got to get out there. Don't stop, and don't let the rejection stop you. When you network, you get so much rejection. It's like dating, right? You get a lot of rejection. The difference between you and people that have already built a community, that have already made 7 figures, that have already been in a relationship, they've just gotten a lot more rejection than you. So just get really comfortable with the rejection, because it's going to happen. I feel like everyone needs to do door-to-door sales just to get used to the rejection. I did network marketing for a few years, and and just the rejection was worth it, because I was rejected a million times. The third mistake that everybody does is the ask too quickly and they don't give value. So just give value, give value, give value. Okay, so I'm going to take any last questions, and then I want to do with 3 ladies, I want you to tell me, if you don't have a question, tell me what you're taking away from today. Either an aha moment or an action step that you're going to take from today and implement so that you can reach the goals and the reason that you came on this workshop today.
I'll go first.
Sure.
Referrals for relationships. I think I've just had a mindset of it feeling, I don't want to say desperate, but just feeling, I don't know. It's never crossed my mind. And usually I'm pretty creative with that type of stuff, but I've never, like I've mentioned to other girlfriends, like if you know any great guys, but I've never said to a guy or someone that may run men's events, do you know any great men? So I think it's more referral than just asking a girlfriend if they know anybody.
Totally. And then also just being specific in that ask, because they don't know what your type is. So even if you say, do you know any great guys? Well, yeah, I do, but just make it really easy so that when you ask them, that one guy comes to mind. Oh my gosh, yes, it's Tom. I need to introduce her to Tom. Make it really easy for the person.
Okay.
And if they say no, I mean, you could go through their Instagram and be like, introduce me to this person. You can be more proactive about it, and it can be kind of fun.
Cool.
So yeah, thanks for sharing. Awesome. Okay, go ahead. Who wants to go? Nicole, do you want to go next?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, for one of the mistakes of not being consistent, I've made that mistake a lot. And if there are people who, like when I met them years ago, there was that, like there was a strong connection there, but like it just kind of, like it hasn't continued into the present because of lack of follow-up, or like there was follow-up and then it like somewhere like kind of died off. how would you like go about kind of reviving that in a way that feels like natural?
Yeah, so here's where you can be authentic. I think just calling the elephant in the room is the best way to be like, hey, I know, I don't even know why we stopped talking.
Okay.
Or, hey, I know we haven't spoken so long. You know, I thought of you today and I'd really love to know what's going on in your life.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Just make it really simple. Don't overthink it and acknowledge that you haven't talked in a while. It's all
Okay.
good. Yeah.
Okay.
Be just as real as possible. You don't have to be fake about it. The beautiful thing about this and networking is this is also a tool to help you continue to step into the truth of who you are. The more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to be showing up, the more comfortable you're going to be speaking, getting clients, growing your business, whatever. And your entire world will just like evolve. It's so beautiful. What are you going to take away from today, and or what was an aha moment that really stuck with you?
I loved everything. Something that was just interesting for me was when we were doing that list. I remember in one of your other webinars, like I think it was, I don't know if it was a year ago or 2 years ago or something, when we were doing this list, it was just interesting to see that what I had written then were traits that I like wanted to cultivate more of in myself then, and when I was doing it now, those same traits are still things that I would value in people, but because I'm like comfortable with my level of that now, like other things came to mind that I was like, oh, that's so funny.
Cool.
That's what I'm working on now. So it was
That's
just
awesome.
really cool to see that, and it's making me think like, okay, well maybe, I don't know, every 6 months or something, like I should just make a point to go do that exercise, because it'll let me know what I should be working on.
Yeah, it's so important to think like, what do I want in my life? Who do I want to surround myself with? And how do I raise my vibration to be that, so I can either attract it and everything else that doesn't match will fall away. And it's just this beautiful up leveling all the time where you're consistently owning what you're bringing to the table and what you're bringing into a room. Cool. Thank you. Okay. Iknor, would you like to share?
I guess I really loved the training also. I got some ideas on, just there's a lot of, you shared a lot of good energy, and so it inspired me in terms of what I might want to do next. The only thing I think that's more challenging is like if you've gone through something personal recently, it's very hard to do these things where you're really being vibrant and full of life always. So that's the one thing that I've had a challenge with this past year, where I'm like, I do my therapy as somebody who's going through a training program as well, right? So I know that that's the tool to use, but like I'm struggling with the like always being in that vibrant, happy place in order to do this.
Yeah. And you don't have to. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to if you don't feel it. I mean, sometimes action and those wins will also give you the confidence. So sometimes if you just push yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, it'll help you to gain the confidence to keep going. And if in the days that you're not feeling it, just go back to, how can I give this to myself today? How can I honor my growth and honor my development so that I can give that to myself?
Okay.
Yeah. It doesn't always have to involve other people, because I want you to honor your growth too, and your connection to you is the most important. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, we're going to finish this up. So thank you everyone who's on live. I appreciate you being here. And if you're watching, thanks for taking the time. Feel free to DM me or ask me any questions. And then I will be back here the first and third Monday of every month to do training. So ladies, if you're on right now, feel free to DM me, Facebook, Instagram. Let me know what topics you want me to cover and what would be helpful for you. And then we can get going on that training for the next week. Okay. Have a great night, everyone. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.